Deidre again.
Hi, Chris. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. What's a good word?
What's a good word? Less than 2 weeks till Christmas.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a good word or not.
Yeah. Not yet. I have lots to do.
Chris, I'm making you co-host, and G, I'm making you host.
Great.
Does anybody else need to be a co-host, or just the two of you guys?
I think just us is good. Mr. Goroff Gambier.
What's up, people? Hello, Tomei. Hi, Deirdre.
Hey.
Laura. Thanks, Louis. Hello, Tess. Dana, Alexander, Joe, Louise, David, Donovan, Lauren Quinn in the house. Oh, can we see your horses, Dana?
We just finished up.
Oh my God.
I love your commitment, Dana.
It's my sanity, keeps me sane, clears my mind.
I
So I was like,
love
I
it.
have to be off the saddle by 3:15. I have to hop on the Zoom. There's so much awesomeness I need to hear.
I love it.
I got my notes together. Chris probably has his notes together. And people who are on the call, can you please, if possible, put your cameras on. It's always more fun to see faces. I always joke around. Otherwise, let's do a call like this so I can continue on behind the screen as well and do things on my side. But our commitment to be here with you, I hope you can show your beautiful face to us as well. It's much more easier. And many of you who do present or host meetings or teach or coach, you guys will probably understand the reason why I'm saying that. It is really, really not fun to talk to black screens. So I appreciate you. Thank you. If you guys are eating, drinking, blow drying your hair, whatever, doesn't matter. Keep doing it. It's all good. So
We don't care.
Riding horses.
Riding horses, no issues whatsoever. It's just behind the screen. This black screen looks really not fun.
No.
How's your day going?
This is gonna be fun because you're gonna be coming from a different angle than I was, right? Because you were with Gary's Top 100, more from the top agent side, whereas I was more from the leadership, like market center side. So they're going to be getting two different angles, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah. And then as you know, I'm going to blabber about everything anyways.
I know you are.
Steve Hahn in the house. Look at that, all the way.
What's up, Steve?
How are you? Nice to see everybody. Woo!
You too, man.
Hello, Ernest, Caitlin, Amal, Andrew. I think people are still coming in. It's popping in every 5 seconds, one additional person coming in. We'll give it some time. Just another like minute or so before we get started. Paul from Florida.
What's up, Paul?
Hola.
Really jealous, buddy. Really jealous.
It's a tough life.
It sure is.
So hot.
Hey, but before we get started, has everyone done their business planning like for 2022? Like we're getting close to the end of the year, and I just brought this up on our ALC call prior to this call. It's not too late, and family reunion is in the third week of February. And how do you know what breakout sessions to go to at family reunion if you don't know where your weak spots are, right? Or where you need to improve? And I think when you go through your business planning and kind of see where the holes are, that kind of gives you a roadmap of like what breakout sessions you should be going to at family reunion. So it's not like Hit and Hope where you just go to family reunion, whether it's virtual or live in person, and you kind of just don't know where you're going. And the beauty to family reunion mega camp is that they give you the agenda prior, so you can actually time block the breakout sessions that you're going to go to that are applicable to what you want to go to. So just food for thought for those of you, hopefully all of you or most of you are going to family reunion. Just make sure that you're prepared so you get the most out of family reunion.
Thank you for that, Chris. All right, guys, you want to get started? There are a lot of new people who came in. I'm going to give them a shout out as well. Maria, Daphne, Ernest, people that I know, Rodney, Stephanie, thanks for joining us today. If you can please all put your cameras on. Bill Carricker, I'm real anal about it. Really like to see the faces. And the reason why I'm also so anal about it is that I don't like public speaking. I hate public speaking. I'm so nervous. Ernest and I talked about it last time. I just don't enjoy it. And this is my other way of at least looking at faces and getting over my fears of being behind the scenes. So I appreciate you guys. Thank you.
You wouldn't know.
I hate it. I can't tell you, Chris, how much I'm nervous. My hands are cold right now.
I hate it too. Can't you tell?
All right, let's get started. Good afternoon, everyone. So Chris and I both had the opportunity and privilege and luxury of going to Austin on behalf of all of you guys and in the team, in our market center, our friends that gave us the privilege of being in a position to represent everyone, to be in that room. And it won't be fair if we didn't spend the time to take notes and bring it back to you guys so it can trickle down to the team and to everyone who's on this call. I know that many people don't take notes in that class when they're sitting with Gary and they just, put their hands behind and they're looking at Gary and listening to him. And I always wonder, one, you'll never remember it 5 years from now. You never have anything to go back and refer your notes. And two, how are you going to come back and give back to your team members? So Chris and I always have a commitment while we're listening. We take lots of notes, and then we always do a mastermind like this. There's going to be a lot of talking from our side, but then we'll always get a participation from you to give your ahas, feedback, ask questions, and then you can give our opinion and thoughts on this as well. Fair enough. Anything, Chris, you want to add before we get started?
No, we are obviously we're going to do a lot of talking, but we're obviously going to answer any questions that you may have for sure. So let's rock and roll.
Okay, so Chris and I, Chris started by saying it, and people who were on the call before, that Chris and I had the opportunity of being in two different masterminds. I was there for first 2 days, and then Chris came in when I was leaving from Austin, and then he was there for another 2 or 3 days. And obviously, some of the conversations might be similar. A lot of the conversations are led by questions that are being asked by the agents and leaders, and then that conversation goes into a different direction. I have to say hi, Andrea Ferry. I such a good, it's lovely to see your face after a long time. All right, so I'm going to start by saying that it was interesting when we got into that room, and I was in the top 200 teams in the country mastermind, where a lot of conversation was happening. What do leaders do? What do teams do? What do agents do? How do we help the agents? Where's the market going? And then along with all those conversations comes in about mindset. So the first thing that Gary started by in the mastermind, in this particular mastermind, was he asked us 10 questions. And the first thing he says, take out your notebook and start writing these 10 questions. So I'm going to read those 10 questions to you. And then I'm also going to put them on the screen so that, and I personally believe writing really helps to remember things. So we'll let you write it down so that you can answer those questions later on yourself. And they're much bigger, deeper questions. And I have not answered all of them myself yet. I've been struggling with a few of them, but I think it's a journey that we have to go through. So the first question that Gary said was, who are you? So do you even understand who you are as a person? And ask yourself and say, who am I? And could you stand up in the middle of a room in a split second in the next if asked in the next couple of minutes, and answer that question in front of a crowd? If you can't, then think again. Do you really know who you are? And you can't just say, I'm a father, mother, brother, sister. You have to talk about who you are as a person. The second one was, what do you believe in? Chris, did he talk about the same questions to you as well?
He didn't, which is good, because what he talked about from a different mindset was habits. And I'll when you're done, I'll touch on the habits that his good habits that's gotten him to where he is today, which I think will be really interesting.
Oh, that's going to be curious. I'm going to take my pen and paper ready. I don't have that one.
I'll share them with you, buddy.
Yeah, sure. So the third one, what motivates you? What is the driving force that motivates you? Number 4, why do you work so hard? Then he started talking some things and expanding those questions. He says, people usually say, I'm doing it for the child. I'm doing it for my children. I'm doing it for my family. And he says, if you ask the child would probably say, no, you're not. All I wanted was your time and for you to play with me and spend time with me. So you're basically doing it for yourself, but we hide it by saying we're doing it for the child. But obviously there's a financial component to it. You need to pay for the education, home, food, everything else. But sometimes we miss that boat and then go over and beyond where we're on the phone, we're at home late. And then we always say, well, I'm doing it for my family, for my child. So why do you work so hard? What's the real reason? When is enough enough? What do you need control over? Number 7, what do you fear? Same question was, what do you fear? What are you afraid of? Can you admit it? Do you have a fear of failure? Do you have a fear of not being lived to the best? So fear is probably more of a choice that you put upon yourself. He also talked about maybe fear is about someone else that is around us. Maybe my fear is I will not be able to provide for the family. Maybe my fear is that I will not make my parents proud. Or my fear is that some people will look at me and think I'm a failure or it's an embarrassment. Like, are you really, is there any fear in your mind? What are you afraid of? Number 8, what regrets are you trying to avoid? He said the number 1 regret is in life people have is not living their life to the fullest and not understanding yourself and not being true to yourself. And if people know that that's the biggest regret, then why don't they change the way they live their life? Death is inevitable, regret is not. Number 9, are you seeking the meaning of life, or are you seeking a way to bring meaning to life? So animals may not have choices. Humans do have choices. Use that choice, and having that opportunity, what are you going to do with the choices that you have? And number 10, who are you in the end of it all? Do you see yourself 20 years, 30 years from now, looking back at yourself today? By answering these questions, we get to decide what do we want from life. And then our actions will be working towards fulfilling that life. So if I may share the screen, people can take the screenshot. So we see these questions. You can take a screenshot. So basically the same question that I just gave you. The end is it never work for money. When you work for money, then when you have enough, you stop. But work needs to be more fun. All right, thoughts so far. Let's have a conversation about it. And Chris, then you can lead into your your questions. So anybody has any thoughts, any questions, any feedback that you want to have a quick conversation about it?
None of it's about real estate.
None of this is about real estate. You're so true. And when we were talking about that, he also said it's all about mindset, right? And we know that. It's not like he said something different or unique. It's all about mindset. The whole life, every bit, the part of our business is all about a mindset. And do we really spend enough time in our lives to think about these questions?
It's funny, G, is as you're going through all those, for those of you that are on my Coffee with Chris calls, I talk a lot about mindset because I think it's really that important. And a lot of those questions that Gary brought up that you talked about are the fundamentals of, at least for me, of how I get my morning started, and that just bleeds into my business or businesses and how, I want to live an abundant life. And so it's all connected. I thought those were just all really, really great questions that we should be asking ourselves every day.
I agree. And I would highly recommend everyone to take some time, sit in your white space with a pen and paper, just jot down your thoughts.
Yeah.
You'll be so amazed if you're being honest to yourself, and you don't have to share that with anyone. You'll discover yourself in many unique ways, and then it'll remind you of the purpose of life and why we are doing what we're doing. If you guys are all here, you probably feel there's a value to listen to what messages or conversations we had with a guy like Gary Keller and other people in the room that day. Don't just shrug that away and think this is just too difficult, because go back to some of the questions. If you don't want to answer the questions, some of that might be because there's a fear of you realizing that there might be things that you're not doing that you should be doing. So that may be some regrets that you are afraid to discover and talk about it, or even think about it, or accept it. So don't shy away from doing this exercise for yourself. All right, Chris, let's lead into your questions. I got my pen paper ready.
Yeah, awesome. So there's four things that Gary led off the mastermind with, and he said there's four things that you fundamentally have to understand when you're in business. And he talked about you have to understand the game, not your game. Oftentimes sometimes we want to do things our way, but when you have clients, you have to understand and listen to what they want. And I thought that was interesting. Take a great shot, not a good shot. So in other words, anything that you do, always give it 100%, and give it your best shot. Deconstruct and analyze your business or businesses on a daily basis. So at the end of every day, he basically reviews his day. And if he didn't accomplish everything that was on his 411 or on his calendar, he takes inventory of it. And then he knows that for the next day, he's got to, one up it. And that's how he lives his life. I thought that was great. And then the last thing is know your role and master it. Know your role and master it. be the master of your craft. And, you know, someone in the audience had asked Gary, you know, did you ever think that you'd be where you are today, having this empire, you know, when back in the mid 80s, when you started the company? He says, I always thought and knew I'd be here today and have this. He's like, it was never a question with me. And he was talking about, you know, his story of when he got divorced, and his wife was cheating on him with his previous boss from another real estate company that he left. And he's like, she took everything. He's like, I didn't have much, but she took everything. And you know, it was the first and only time that I was in debt, because my partner, Joe Williams of Keller Williams, had said, hey, listen, you know, I want to get out. You know, I need you to buy me out. So he borrowed money to buy Joe out. Because that was the first and only time I was ever in debt. But it was a good lesson for me, because I really learned how much grit I had. You know, that here I am, I'm broke, have no money. My wife divorced me, cheated on me with my ex-boss, you know, and for him to have the grit to get to, you know, get through that and get to where he's gotten is just really just amazing. But there's 6 habits that he talked about. First one is, know why you're committing to the change. Know why you're committing to the change. And I'll put these in the chat box when I'm done. Remind yourself daily of the benefits of making the change. So, for example, by committing more time to your value proposition, I'm adding more value in my stock, in turn, adding value to your business. If you have a team, to your clients. 2, commit to a short-term goal initially. About 3 to 5 weeks, or how long does it take to create a habit? 66 days is all the time that you'll need to make a habit automatic, right? And we're talking about good habits. We're not talking about bad habits. Making it through the initial conditioning phase is many times the hardest part. So after you achieve this, commit to the habit for another time period. Eventually, it will become routine or automatic. Number 3, make it a regular activity. So the consistency will be key in creating a habit. If you are focusing on growing your business, then set aside time each day to review your opportunities, your pipeline. You know, make calls to get appointments with prospects, block it out, time block it on your calendar. I talk about this all the time. I live off of my calendar. You really want to get focused. Make sure that you have a time block on your calendar, because if it's not on your calendar, it doesn't exist, right? That's how I live my life, personal and professional. 4, take small steps. Set 1 or 2 goals at a time. If you commit to completely changing the way you work, it is easy to get discouraged and overwhelmed and just stop doing all of it, right? It's oftentimes we set too many goals and then we never accomplish any of them because it's overwhelming. So a good starting goal could be, I will commit to setting time on my calendar weekly for building relationships, you know, with clients, with my team. I'll also commit to having 2 lunches a week with whether it be potential referral sources, you know, other top performing agents in the market center, whatever it may be. But Gary does have lunches every day with his team, and he time blocks it. So he can get through he has a big team to make sure that he spends that quality time with each person on his team. Number 5, surround yourself with people who also have the same habits. Spend more time with people who model the habits you want to create. Their encouragement and coaching will help you create more sticky habits. Plus, you can see how their habits are paying off. I talked about this last week in my coffee with Chris about who you associate with, right? Who are the 3 people in your life that you spend the most time with? And Are they helping you achieve your goals? And if not, then you need to relook at that, right? It's like, who are the 5 people that you surround yourself with? You know, and I truly do believe in that. Number 6, reward yourself for your progress, right? Celebrate your success. Continue to recognize the positive steps you're taking by celebrating with small rewards for your efforts. Doesn't mean that you go out and buy, you know, a Mercedes AMG, right? It just means that those small little rewards, you know, go a long way. This will also encourage repetition, you know, and again, it could be, you know, it could be a nice watch, it could be a pair of earrings, whatever it is. But you guys have heard me talk, or some of you heard me talk about, you know, the high 5 habit, Mel Robbins. If you haven't read it, great book. And she talks a lot about giving yourself credit, right? It's like getting better, that 1% every day that compounds over time, you know, and making sure that, you know, to give yourself a high 5, right? Because you deserve it. So those are the 6 habits that Gary talked about. Any questions on that? I'll put these in the chat box.
Hey, Chris.
Yes, sir.
So I'm glad you pointed to what you were talking about with your coffee with Chris. And
Yep.
when you talk about rewarding yourself for your progress and surrounding yourself with like-minded people, we're in the age of social media. So we always see when somebody actually rewards themselves because they go ahead and post it. And I've made that choice to surround myself with people like you, Graf, and people that have been that successful, and it's helping me. So I would just encourage anybody, hey, if you see somebody that's rewarding themselves for being that rock star, that might be the person you want to start to get to know a little bit better, because the next thing you know, it's going to be you that's rewarding yourself, and somebody's going to want to affiliate with you because they know you're knocking it out of the park.
No, I love that, Dave. I love it. And I know you're on my calls religiously, so appreciate that.
Hey, Chris, back to the 4 things to understand in business. I understood the 2 and 3. Can you elaborate on 1 and 4? So understand the game, not your game, and then know your role and master it.
Yeah, absolutely. So you have to understand the game, not your game, is number 1. 2 is taking, what's that?
What does that mean?
So I'll put it to you this way. Just because you think it should be done a certain way doesn't necessarily mean that that's what your client wants in this case, right? By listening to what your client needs, you might have to shift or think a little bit differently. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Cool.
If I may also add, Chris, a little bit on that one, that
yeah,
there are better ways of doing it, and then there's an easy shortcut way of doing it. If you know that the best way to reach out to your clients and follow up is to build a database, and then I think that it's okay because my way of making an Excel sheet works best, that's your game, but then there's a better game. So play the best game, not just your game, because sometimes we tell ourselves it's easier to do it my way because I just know how to do it and I build a system. I also understand the best way.
love that. Anybody else?
And then know your role and master it, Chris. How would you explain that last one?
Hey there, I just want to know if you guys can hear me. This is my first time on Zoom.
Hi,
Yes.
Andrea. Yes, we can.
Oh,
Welcome
hi.
to Zoom.
Okay.
Welcome to Zoomland.
This feels so funny because I hopped on this right as you guys started speaking about just everything, like purpose and all these things. And I think I was just reading that book yesterday at the airport. I got that book for free on the street in Miami. They were giving that book out and I picked it up and I'm reading this book and I'm like, it resonated so much with me because those stuff are so major. And I feel like those aren't things that are that common in business because it's not manly almost to think about emotions like that. And we're coming into a new age where we're learning to embrace these things and go back to the fact that emotional intelligence is everything. And I love that. I love that we're combining the self-love and the business world. I really do like that. I think that people are going to start to realize that that our journeys, our self journeys, are so important, and we're going to value things much more because of it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thanks for sharing
Yeah,
that,
I'm just
Andrea.
like, I love it. I love everything you guys have been talking about so far, and I hope everyone else is feeling as inspired.
Appreciate that, Andrea. You know, it's so not about real estate. You know, it's about changing lives. You know, and whether it be your clients or whether if you have a team, whether it be the agents on your team, it's really when you can do that, everything else falls into place. You know, the money falls into place, everything else falls into place. It really, really does.
And Chris, the interesting part is that if we all know that and understand that mindset, it's all a mindset game, and everything else is secondary to what we do. That how come most businesses don't talk about it?
Yeah.
If that's the game, why don't we learn to play that game better, and then figure out to do the transactional stuff later? But we always continue talking about transactions first, and then we put this on the back end. So let's continue. We have about 30 minutes left. I'm sure we have a lot. I have like 5 more pages of notes that I want to read you a few things here and there.
Yeah.
Because then you can chime in between as well. Am I interrupting somebody? Was somebody trying to say something?
No, go ahead.
Okay, all right, perfect. All right, so then people started asking him about the market today. What does he think about the market? How does he feel 2022 will look like? Where is the industry going with the agents or the salespeople? And here's a few comments that he made. He said, being a salesperson in this era was like hitting a jackpot. He says it's one of the only eras in real estate that we have such an opportunity to have a direct access to the consumer. It's social media, technology, websites, IDX. You have direct access to the consumer. So that was not always there beforehand. Real estate has also had created such old habits that had to be undone for new habits to be formed. And as bad as it sounds, COVID really helped that particular thing. That within a short period of time, everyone had to change those old habits within a few days or a few weeks. And that created an opportunity for all of us to go to our clients or consumer or build new relationships with everyone that is out there, because everyone has to now create new habits. So that opportunity exists, still is out there. Another thing that I wrote down from our conversation was failing your way to fulfillment is the best path in your journey, because what you learn from that is going to make you a better person and change the trajectory of your journey. He was also talking about, why do I work so hard? And he said, I want to use myself up in this life. I don't want to leave any gas in me that I didn't use in my journey. Live to the fullest and with everything I can do and give. So that's when I feel I'll be fulfilled in my life. We are yes people, but most happy people are no people. Be clear to what you are saying no to, and be very clear to what you're saying yes to. Doing all the time becomes a hiding way from not knowing. and I put that in an asterisk in my notebook. It says, and we're thinking more about it and talking more about it, is that we just sometimes keep doing things. And we do this because we don't want to learn different things. It's easier to show that we are busy with certain things and not really spending the time in creating new habits, new knowledge, information. That's tough. Change is tough. So we try to put ourselves in position to say, well, I just didn't have time. So there was a sentence he uses that your work ethic sometimes is stopping you from future opportunities. You work so hard at times that you don't take the time to take a step back and analyze your business. We always talk about working in the business or on the business. So your work ethic sometimes is stopping you from future opportunities. It says always rely on your team. Leverage is the key to success. You will realize that your team can score better than you. And who's your team? So, it could be a team leader. It could be an owner of a team. It could be an individual agent. Your team is a transaction manager, marketing director, accounting department, social media person. Why don't you go and take your own photographs, videos, Matterport, because you're relying on somebody else? Why are you not doing your own appraisal and home inspection because you're relying on someone else? That is all part of your team for every transaction. So when I meet with some agents, we talk about, how do you get your business from 1 million to 3 million, from 3 million to 5, and from 5 to 10, or from 10 to 20? We all have the same number of hours in a day. How do you duplicate yourself? And then we become the bottleneck because we're working so hard doing everything, because that's my habit. I like to do everything myself. And I also feel that I can do it better than most people. Well, then your work ethic is stopping you from future opportunities. And you're not allowing yourself to grow and get better because you're not really relying on your team. And you may not realize that your team can score better than you. So you got to work with them. All right, Chris, I spoke for a while. Let you speak, put some of your thoughts there, and I'll gather my more thoughts.
No, I just want to add to what you just were talking about, like the whole yes and no thing. As I've gotten older and more experienced, I've learned, I'm getting better at it, to, the yeses that I say, do they support my GPS or do they support my goals? And if they do, it's a yes, right? And if they don't, it's not necessarily a no. If someone, I'll give you an example. If I have 3 meetings in the morning and I'm lead genning, and someone asks me, hey, Chris, I really need to meet with you tomorrow at 9 o'clock. And if it's not obviously an emergency and it can wait, then, hey, you know what? I would love to, but I can't tomorrow because I'm booked, but how about these dates and these times? So I'm not saying no, I'm saying no for tomorrow, but I'm not saying no that I'm not going to meet with you. So it's really, really important to get crystal clear on when you say yes to something, is it supporting your goals? And when you say no, are you saying no for the right reasons? So I know that was like the first thing that came to my mind when you were talking about that, Gaurav.
No, thanks. One sentence I was reading, it says, Gary said, I wake up every day to do as little as possible. This is most of you guys in this room wake up to do as much as possible. So now think about it, right? So he said, I wake up in the morning and every day to do as little as possible because I believe in delegating and leveraging so I can focus on more things that really matter and helping people in future. So most of us get tied up in doing how much more to-do task can I complete? It's such a different mindset.
It's funny. I'm looking at my notes, like I use the iPad, right, with the stylus, and I can't show you because it looks like chicken scratch, but I can read it. And I talked about this before about how you take notes and then you make notes. And I've been doing this a lot, and it's really helped me. Is I just draw a line down the middle of, if you're using a pad, just right down the middle of the paper. And then I take the notes on the left side. And then as I take a note, I draw an arrow over to the right side and how am I going to implement that into my business or my personal life? And so it's sure a lot of you have notes that you've taken over the years, right? And most of them probably either you don't know where they are, they got crumpled up, or they're somewhere else. So what's the point of taking notes if you're not going to take action on them? And that's the whole point of taking the notes and then making the notes. So it's a reminder in your brain that triggers, hey, you know what? I need to take action on this. I'm not going to let these notes go to waste. Sorry, I needed to brain dump that.
No, absolutely. Can I get a few more things that I wrote down?
Yeah, go for it.
So we are afraid to dig deeper because we could be afraid of our own insecurities and shame. So we are afraid to dig deeper because we could be afraid of our own insecurities and shame. And that's why, that regret comes in and say, I know I should have done something. I didn't do it. So I don't want to really go and explore because I already know the answer, but I don't want to talk about it. So let's just move on and do something else. Fear is, if I get all the answers, I might have regrets. He said, many of you guys, and we're looking at, like almost like 200 people in the room, and said, many of you will not go and answer the questions because you're too afraid to find the answers. So you just don't want to do it. So, and then the problem is that gets into your mindset, and then you would not grow because you're going to get stuck in the same space where you are. There's a barrier you need to cross, and the only way to cross it is that you got to embrace yourself to understand yourself better. But the good thing is that you are able to go through the journey of finding those answers and to realize what you have become and what you need to change. Sometimes we don't hire people with the fear of what am I going to do with myself, because you feel that you're given yourself a job and you don't want to replace yourself. And then you get stuck in the same job. If your life is only defined by what you do, then you have a small life. You need to go dig deeper in realizing who you are. And then we talked about, because we got so deep into talking about spirituality and, physical form. So, somebody asked Gary a question. Again, Gary, how do you analyze life? Who are you? And he says, I'm not going to give you the exact answer of how I define myself, but I'll give you a statement that you can reflect on. He says, he's been trying to figure out in his life, and he said that he has at this point realized how he believes life is. He says, is life a spiritual being in a human form, or is it a physical form to have a spiritual experience? So I'll repeat it because it took me a while to just think about it. Is our life a spiritual being in a human form, or are we having a physical form to have a spiritual experience? So what is more valuable is the spirit. So am I in this body as a journey, or am I or my body is or am I only going to be in this life once, and I'm having the experience through my physical form? And he says he thinks for himself the spirit moves on to something else. That's what he believes in. And he says, that's something for you guys to figure out what you believe in and what your philosophy is, and that's what he said for himself. We talk about this. People shouldn't listen to you because you're successful, but because of the journey you've had so far, and then the failures and successes during that journey is that what really matters, and people should learn from each other. Right? So people shouldn't listen to you because you're successful, but because of the journey you've had. The failures and successes during that journey is what really matters. And we can learn from that for each other.
It's like people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Yeah.
You know?
So, Chris, I don't know if you talked about a conversation with money in your coaching call. He gave us a few questions to ask. It was a two-day mastermind. So then he gave us about 8 more questions to talk about money. He says most people have a bad relationship with money or a negative relationship with money. But what you can do with money is so much indifferent in different, with different people. What really does money mean to you? And if you guys want to write these questions down, I'll say them and I'll repeat them. There are about 8. There are about 8 points that he made. So the first one was, what does money mean to you? Second one was, why do you want money? So the question we were talking about before, when is enough enough? Is that question going to end by answering how much money you want? Or is there more in life? When is enough enough? He said money gives you the freedom and the opportunity to express who you are. Whoever you are, money would exemplify it. It will reveal everything about you. So work on fixing yourself to not let money lead you into being a different person. You may not realize it, but money can change you. So more money will allow you to be more of who you are. If you are a good person and you're a giving person, more money will allow you to give more money to people and to help people.
Yep.
See, but if you are more, if materialistic things matter to you, and that's what you like, or having more money at the expense of other people is who you are, then more money is going to be making more of you in those aspects as well. It's about what kind of relationship you have with money. Can be a good relationship as well.
It's also what you're attracted to as well, right? Are you attracted to helping other people get where they want? Or are you attracted to the materialistic things of what you want?
Yeah. Money is good for the good you want to do. It'll reflect your values. It will allow you to make bets on things that you want to see more of. If you want to make a change by helping people, helping a particular disease get eradicated, helping finding a cure for something, it'll allow you to bet on things that you care more for. The next question he asked was, well, how much money do you have? Do you know? How much income do you have from all sources combined? What's your net worth? Next question was, what do you want to do with that money? Do you actually know what you want to do with that money in personal life and business life? How much passive income do you have? And the last question was, how much more money do you need? And do you know how much more money do you need? And why?
That last one, if you think about it, a lot of people don't think about that, right? Like, how much money do you need? Well, how much do you need, right? It's if you think about it, it's probably not an easy question to answer. It's
but I guess that is either if we start thinking about, well, I need enough money to do something, or I need enough money to have financial stability or financial freedom, or another way that he didn't talk about this. I was thinking about it when I was thinking about the question is, maybe there's a question about what's the minimum amount of money I need. Right? If I get that, then most of my fears, insecurities, my things that I want to achieve and I do, my soul is going to find some fulfillment because that's the minimum things and actions I want to do or give back or, have a kind of car or my family or helping others or, my daughter's education or having my retirement funds, like whatever that might be, I need to have a minimum money. And if I can find that answer, then it's about doing the tasks and the activities to achieve that. And then it's my choice of what I want to lead my life in as I go over and beyond. But if I don't have a target, if I don't have a goal, how much am I going to run and how long and for what? There's always a challenge in life that will be a challenge for ourselves. This was very big for me, and he said, intentional giving is life-changing. He says, very hard for people to take money out of their pocket and give it to someone for a good deal. And many times it's a challenge because we don't know the answers to the other questions. And so, but it always feels great when we give, but it's so hard to give. So why is that? So that's each one of us to answer the question for ourselves. Why is that? If we know it's more satisfying and helpful to give, then why aren't we giving more? Maybe we feel we don't have enough. Well, how can you know what enough is if you don't have the questions answered? So with all honesty and transparency, I don't know the answers to most of these things myself, but it really made me think. It really made me think, and I have my own soul searching to do, and I hope you do too.
Yeah, that's the thing about Gary. He asks really strong, powerful questions.
And he said in the mastermind as well. I says, if you guys want to talk about how to do prospecting and what CRM to use and how many times I should call the client, he said we can have that conversation too. But you can go read the MREA, and I wrote it down there. So, but you really want to understand what life is about and why you're doing it, because it's a mindset game. I can help you with that too.
It's so funny because you and I have been with Gary a bunch of times, and it's funny being in the room with people that haven't been in the room with him before, and everyone thinks that it's going to be like the easy button on how to do this and how to do that, and it's complete opposite. He talks about mindset and habits, and not even talking about what you think about real estate. I mean, there is some of that in there, but a lot of it is really just about getting your mind right and the daily habits and what to do and what not to do.
So true, Chris. It's like a therapeutic session. Therapeutic session. I love going there every 6 weeks or so because it just re-energizes me.
Yeah,
really,
so
really
true.
Everything you have is up for grab, and everything others have is for grab again. He was talking about business and transactions. So your whole business is up for grab today. And everyone else's business is up for grab as well. Because if they don't do a good job in following up, building the relationship, having the consumer relationships, that relationship is going to go away. So what are you doing about it to build your market share? Now is the time. Once that has been taken away, it becomes as much more challenging to change those habits again. He says right after COVID, we as real estate agents, it's a once in a lifetime opportunity for us, where a brand new agent and $100 million agent have the same opportunity of rebuilding that relationship. He says never in the life has that happened. So it is a moment for everyone to look upon your own business and say, I can compete with anyone and everyone today, and and life has given me this opportunity. But if you don't take that opportunity, then you have nothing to complain about in the future, because that opportunity may not come again. And what are you going to do about it?
Hey, Jay.
Yes, sir.
I just want to touch on this real quick because I know we're getting towards. I want to leave enough time if people have questions as well. I know we have like 8 minutes left. So there's the part of this that we went through, I'm not sure, Groff, if he went through this with you, and I kind of put this one sheet together. And it's called the Distributed Network of Win-Win Marketplace Opportunities. It's called Dynamo, DINOMO. And there's 3 parts to it. One is agent services, another one is consumer services, and another one is brokerage services. And then we, as owners, as leaders of the brokerage, we focus a lot on this, and we have been since, you know, we took over the brokerage in 2018, is how do we add more value to our agents, right, and to their clients and to our leadership team. And agent services, and I'll go down through quickly, and these are all everything in a box, right? So productivity coaching in a box, professional services, a la carte in a box, technology, CRM in a box, financial services partnership in a box, luxury, commercial, new homes, relocation, referral in a box, expansion teams to join or create in a box, lead generation in a box, training, education, events in a box, human resources as a service in a box. And as part of professional services, we've done this, right? We have a marketing department, we have a media department, right? And then we have take me to closing, right? So we have transaction management. And then consumer services, you know, consumer tech, search, buy, own, sell in a box, consumer marketing, material design in a box, consumer value, propositions in a box, and financial services. So whether it be iBuyer or a REIT, real estate investment trust, concierge, bridge loans in a box. And the last one is brokerage services. So license, compliance, commission management in a box, onboarding agents in a box, market center tech, digital communications and digital market center in a box, financial transaction services partnership, mortgage, title, insurance, property management, which we've done. And then luxury, commercial, new homes and development, relocation in a box, market center sales team and expansion in a box. So I'll share this with everyone, but from a brokerage leadership standpoint, Gary talked a lot about, you know, what we should be doing, you know, as leaders of the brokerage to add even more value to our agents, you know, to your consumer, to your customers, your clients, and to our leadership.
Thanks for sharing
Questions?
that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's make the
Really?
last 5 minutes. You're right, to have a little bit of Q&A.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on any ahas?
We can't do all the talking. Go ahead, Daphne.
I had a question that goes back to Gary and his list, the 4 things for business about know your role and master it. And I know he says that he always saw himself being who he is and being where he is. But how did he start it? Did he start it like, you know, as wanting to be a top producing agent, and then did it grow from there? Or I'm just curious, you know, if he gets at all. He sounds like such an enlightened individual, and he's much more interested in the headspace and getting everybody's head right in order to achieve their best, you know. And I'm just curious, and he's in a position obviously to really search for the meaning of life in the everyday when you have everything, you know. But I'm much more interested in hearing more of the background or story about how did it start for him?
I think it could be summed up really in like a sentence or in a nutshell, is that he became the expert, right, in his field, right? He went to college for real estate. That's all he did was real estate. But one thing that he learned and what made Keller what it is the people. And he learned that the people make the company, not the company making the people. And once he learned that, and he put profit share into play, you know, I think that's when things really started to expand. And he said this before. He said, you know, my success is a direct result of the people that were around me, you know. And I'll say the same thing. I'm sure Groff will tell you the same thing as well. Like we're nothing without all of our agents, without our leadership team. Like we can't exist, you know. So I think a lot of his success is due to that. He's a very smart man, obviously, and every day he learns every day. He reads every day. You know, he's just a very intense person with a lot of grit. You know, Gaurav, feel free to add anything to that.
The only thing I say, you know, from listening from his all the other stories that I've heard from him, what comes to mind is I just think he started asking these kind of questions to himself very early in life. And I think that's what gave him the opportunity to define himself much earlier than most. And I'm sure others have done it. There might be people in this room right now who must have done a better job than some of others in answering those questions. So, you know, it's just learning from your own journey and being purposeful about it. You know, we do have these questions answered, but I think his if you listen to his podcast or read his book as well about the MREA, I think there's a huge section initially where he talks about his personal life and how he got started, his relationship with his father, his relationship with other agents, the manager of the brokerage he was in. There's a lot of, like, you know, conversations that we can relate to. So you should listen. His podcast is pretty interesting.
Think like a CEO.
Think Like a CEO is a podcast, you're right.
Hello. Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi. The financial part was very interesting to hear. My name is Anik. Thank y'all for the invitation to be a part of this meeting today. But I feel like from my perspective, it is very important to understand yourself and your purpose, but finances bring a certain form of freedom that you wouldn't have without it. So I've met people that were brilliant and they had a purpose of life, but due to the limited financing that they had, they weren't able to really move and operate the way they would like to and be as effective as they would like to for themselves and within their community. So I feel like it's more of a balance. You need to know your purpose, but money is important too. I mean, my religious faith helped guide me that the love of money can lead you to greed and do certain things. But if you're not that type of person where you have greed in your heart like that, if you know your purpose and you do have a good amount of finances, you're able to do a lot more than someone who knows their purpose and has very limited financing, which we all know, we see it in our urban communities. They don't have a lot of financing, yet they're just as intelligent. They have dreams, purposes, aspirations. The things aren't able to get done. So financing is very, financial literacy and finances, period, is very important.
Thank you so much for sharing that. It's very true, in line with what we're talking today as well. And that's why I think, along with the 10 questions he gave us about life, he also put the next 6 or 8 questions right behind it for money, because money does exemplify who you are. And if you don't understand how much you need, how much do you have, why do you need it, then you may not do some of the actions or try to do some of the actions that will help you achieve those goals. And I'm sure there are privileged and there are people who don't have they work very hard, but maybe don't have the opportunity to be in the same place like others. There's all those things that happen. However, we instead of getting into a detailed conversation about what is hope and luck and opportunities, keeping it pretty standard platform, I think understanding what we need and how and why we need it is more important. That can lead us into creating our own journey that will allow us to achieve that. So thanks for sharing that, Lanik. Really appreciate it.
That was great.
All right, guys, one last 4:32. We have to be respectful of everybody's time. I did share the second page of the questions. I'll share it once again before we leave. If anybody wants to take a screenshot, please do. And then we will, Chris, you want to have the last word and then we'll end.
No, I think that, like I said before, if you don't take at least 1 or 2 things from this and take action and implement, then it's all for waste, right? So the best compliment you could give Gaurav and I is that you take some of this and that you actually take action on it. That would be the best compliment that you could give us. And our hope is that you'll do that. And just make sure that for 2022, that you guys have a business plan. You have a roadmap, right, of where you're going for 2022. It's not too late, right? You still have a couple of weeks till the end of the year. Because if you don't know where you're going, you're never going to get there. So, and we're always here to help and support.
I do have one more question for Mr. Chris. I didn't catch all of the first 4 things Mr. Gary said you need to understand in business. I have number 1, know the game, not your game. Number 2, take a great shot of it.
Take a great shot, not just
not a good shot.
Can you repeat that? I'm in a meeting. Stop moving around.
Take a great shot, not a good shot.
Thank you. And the third one?
Third one, what did I say?
Deconstruct and analyze your business daily.
Yep. And then
know your role
and master it.
See, I took notes, Chris.
You're so good. You're so good.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Really
Thanks,
great
everyone.
pleasure.
Thank
a lot.
you. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. This was great.
Thank you.
If I'll see some of you, happy holidays.
Happy
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays, guys.
See ya. Bye.